to the STLK in the UTA Cougars podcast. I'm Conjo. This is Steve filling in for Paul today. So we're mixing it up a little bit.
We're mixing it up. Paul's not feeling great. His family's not feeling great. 'Tis the season. The weather's turning. It's getting cold. My kids are sick too. So here we are. We miss you, Paul.
We miss you, Paul. But hey, we're right here. We're back at it. I'm happy to be here with Steve. You know, build that chemistry on the mics. We haven't really quite done that yet.
Let's get it done.
So I'm excited about it. But, you know, Steve, we are coming off a loss to West Virginia, obviously. And this week we're coming against the 5-4 Iowa State Cyclones.
So I'm looking at this game a lot like after the TCU game, right? We had a massive letdown at TCU, and we all thought that was the low point of the season until we hit West Virginia. And after the TCU game, we came home and we beat a good Texas Tech team. And so that's what I'm looking for, really hoping for this weekend. BYU takes a bad loss on the road, comes back home to LaVell Edwards Stadium, playing in front of their fans. They got the new blackout jerseys with the sparkle helmet. I'm not sure if you saw those.
No, I like the little, I don't even sparkle. What's the word? It's like a splotch of like paint.
It is almost like they just like flicked paint on there.
I kind of liked it. Like I like because like you can go different ways with it. You know, you can. I think last year we had that same kind of thing, but it was like a glossy helmet. This looks more like matte black with the flick, with this flick of it, and I think that's way better. I think I like that.
Shout out to the equipment staff. I used to work on the equipment staff. It's a lot of work to get new uniforms ready. Right? They have to. Every single player has their own size helmet, their own style of helmet, and their own face mask. And so they have to fit all of those together. You have to sew all the name patches on the back of the jerseys. You have to make sure every number is the correct size. And then a lot of fans don't know this. Every single jersey that's on the field, they duplicate and they have it in a chest on the sideline.
Just in case.
Just in case. Like if someone's jersey gets ripped in the middle of the game, they'll have a backup with the right size, the right like fit. They have different fits of jerseys, the right number, and they'll have the nameplate on the back as well.
So I know like Krispy Kreme's throws their donuts in a bag and puts them in the trash at night. What does BYU do with their jerseys after the game?
I love this question. After the game, so it was kind of a big deal. When we wore specialized jerseys when I was working for the team, one of our big roles after the game was to go make sure we got the jerseys from the players because the players stuff them in their bag and want to take them home.
Yeah.
And so most of the seniors at the end of the season get one or two of the jerseys that they played in. Beyond that, I know that BYU lately has been doing like these auctions where they'll like sell them off for like revenue for the athletic department as well. But yeah, it was a big deal after games to make sure we went and got the jerseys from the players because a lot of them like try to stuff them in their bag and take them, which I think I'd try to do too.
I mean, why not? Or sell it somehow, you know, under the water. I don't know.
And now you can sell it and it's not even a big deal.
That's actually true. I didn't even think about
when
that.
I was there 2016, 2017. So I worked for the team Broncos last year, Kalani's first year. It was a big deal because players would get, you get a ton of gear as a player, tons of shoes, and you get
everyone's selling it nowadays.
Yeah. And back then, like it was like a big deal because some guys we'd have to like take certain things off when we gave them the product. We'd have to take tags off and stuff because we want to discourage them from selling it. But nowadays, yeah, guys can sell it freely and make money off it.
Hey, another controversy in the BYU Cougar world. It is a blackout, right? We're wearing blackout jerseys. But BYU saying wear royal.
And I was making fun of Utah all season because they were wearing the black jerseys and then telling their fans not to wear black, and everybody was confused. Is this the blackout? Is it not? I mean, the jerseys are blacked out, but they're telling everybody to wear royal. We're both wearing all black today.
I mean, it's just kind of like, I want to match the team.
You think so?
Like, especially when we do a whiteout, you always go white. Everyone's always wearing white.
White Stadium looks sick. Penn State at night.
So sick.
The whiteout.
So why not replicate it for black? I see going, you know, all royal is kind of cool. I've always been, you know, royal over navy person. But what's up with that?
Well, and BYU's got to recognize it's going to be cold. The weather's actually going to be pretty nice. There's still tickets available. Everybody needs to go buy tickets.
I don't have a royal puffer jacket.
That's what I was going to say, right? People are way more likely to have like a black or like a dark brown or like a dark colored jacket than who has a royal blue jacket or coat or hoodie?
Unless they bought it from some old player like we were just talking about. They don't got one.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be splotchy on TV. I think they should just embrace it. I don't know why they don't embrace it and just say, okay, go blackout. They want everybody to wear royal. Everybody wears white to the basketball games. I get that, but I agree. They should just go dark.
Hey, so, you know, we're on everybody's side, on the rock side. You know, I want to be wearing black. You know what? I will. So, all right. So Iowa State Cyclones, you know, they had the same record as us. For some reason, I feel like their team does not represent their record. Like they're honestly like had some couple bad losses. You know, dive in a little bit more. You know, who are the Iowa State Cyclones and what does that mean for BYU this week?
Iowa State's a good team. I agree with you. Their record, BYU's record of 5-4 is likely better than the team is. right? I think BYU's lucky to be at 5-4.
Yes.
I see the opposite for Iowa State, where 100%. I think they could easily be a 6-3, even a 7-2 team. They are a very solid football team. They had some off-season controversy. I don't know if you saw this, that a couple players involved in bets and sports betting, and they had some guys suspended at the beginning of the year. That could also have bled into their record. But going into this weekend, we can't let West Virginia beat us twice, right? West Virginia already smashed us. We have to put that game behind us and use that as momentum. I did hear from a couple player sources that practice on Tuesday was absolutely brutal, which I love hearing, right? There has to be accountability.
Has to be.
And so Kalani, really putting his foot down. He's more of the love and learn type. He seems more like a player coach. So to hear that practice was brutal and really got after players, I was happy to hear that. So going into this weekend, BYU's 5-4, Iowa State's 5-4. I think there's a lot on the line for this game. The team that wins this game, again, just like last week, becomes bowl eligible. Bowl eligibility for BYU at this point would be massive. We have a lot of young players, including our quarterback, Retzlaff, who we'll talk about, who could use those 15, 16, 17 extra practices. Think about the development from a player perspective. So a lot on the line this weekend, at least in the bowl eligibility sphere.
Well, that's the first thing I think about it. I mean, I don't know Iowa State's schedule the rest of the year, but I know BYU faces Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, which is no easy rodeo. I mean, that's literally the Cowboys and some Sooners. I mean, that's no easy rodeo. So I think this is the game that determines bowl eligibility for BYU.
This is the game. And the past couple weeks I've been talking about Oklahoma State. I'm still hoping to make it to Stillwater to go to this game, although I have much less faith than I did a couple weeks ago.
Better than Shreveport, right?
Better than Shreveport. Everything's better than Shreveport. But the last couple of weeks, BYU's been hovering around 28 to 30% FPI to go to Stillwater and win. And then this last week, Oklahoma State just beat Oklahoma, and that plummeted all the way to 16%. And so this is the week to get bowl eligible. Next week, we do have the Sooners at home, which is going to be awesome. A top 15 team in Provo, a team of that caliber, it's going to be a great environment.
Pretty awesome.
But if BYU wants to get bowl eligible, have those extra practices, end the season on a high note. I think beat everyone's expectations. Coming into this year, most of the national pundits had BYU winning 3 or 4 games. So to get bowl eligible, I think at this point would be a huge accomplishment, but it has to happen this Saturday. It
has to happen. And I think playing at home is going to be big too. I mean, it's lucky that we were playing Iowa State at home. I think that's going to change the cards. I think that actually absolutely changes everything. And so, especially a night game, basically everything's fallen for us. It's right. Night game at home. Fate is telling us the BYU Cougars are going to win. I'm hoping this.
Last 22 games, BYU's won 20. Well, that started at night. We were 20 for 21 until we just went and lost at West Virginia night game. Iowa State is a really good team, but they're not. I think they're favored by about 8 or 9 right now, which I hope the players are taking personally. I didn't realize this until I looked it up last night. BYU's undefeated at home this season. Yeah. They protected the home field really well. They've just been terrible on the road.
Yeah.
On the road in the Big 12, Greg Wrubell tweeted this week, BYU's led for, I believe, 35 seconds of game time this entire year in 3 Big 12 road games.
That's rough.
And so, that's a really rough stat there. So being at home, I think, is going to be big. BYU has to keep their fans in the crowd. And I talk about this a lot. College football is a lot about momentum. And so things like third down stops, the defense has to get off the field on third down. The loudest times at LaVell Edwards stadiums are third and fourth down was when the defense is out there. That's true of most teams. And when you get beat on third down time after time after time, right, you see the crowd and people are less willing to stand up. People aren't cupping their mouths and yelling, right? People aren't cheering. So BYU has to get off the field on third down to keep the fans in it. And we also got to score touchdowns.
100%.
Right? Will Farron's done a good job. I believe he's 9 for 11 this year in field goal. Good job. But I would love to see our new quarterback and this offense that we've been talking about for weeks now just get out of the slump and put points on the board, keep the crowd engaged, and it'll be a fun night at LaVell.
So if you're A-Rod here and you say, get out of the slump, what are you doing to get out of a slump? What do you do offensively to push that? So obviously in other sports, it's really different. You got to switch things up and honestly just start firing away. 2 threes can completely shift momentum. Football, it's a lot harder. You have a lot less, to work with, a lot more guys on the field. So what do you do, or what is it that can get BYU out of a slump early in this game?
In my mind, it starts with the offensive line. The offensive line play at West Virginia was just horrendous.
Yeah.
And we saw the clips circulating on Twitter of certain players that just look lost. And they're running down the field and there's guys running by them and they're just whiffing. Well, I shouldn't even say they're whiffing. They're not even attempting to hit them. They're just kind of looking around should I hit this guy? Should I hit that guy? So it absolutely starts with the offensive line. I was encouraged to hear Connor Pay on the Locked On Cougars podcast this week talking about personal accountability, making changes. The coaches have talked about getting players on the field that are going to play hard and that have earned their spots. And that's, after a loss like West Virginia, that's what I hope the coaches would do, is like everybody needs to re-earn the spot on the field.
Yeah.
Right? There's no more givens, right? We just got absolutely smashed. If you want to play this week, you have to earn it and go out there. BYU has good recruits on offense. They have 3 and 4 star recruits on the offensive line. We have multi-year starters. And so in my mind, it starts with the offensive line. And if the offensive line plays well, establishes the run early on, and can get Jake some time in the pocket, I think we'll be just fine.
And I think, the first 2 drives of the game will tell a lot too. No one likes, because energy at the very beginning, you get to hear the music, you go crazy. That first kickoff with the cannon in the background, like that's electric. So coming out of that and giving up a touchdown or getting stopped, 3 and out right off the bat is devastating.
And in my mind, this is some strategy that I think more coaches should employ. When you're at home, I would always defer. Give the other team the ball first and
100%.
let your stadium roar.
Right? Defense is way more electric.
Let everybody get on their feet. Let everybody be loud and just set the tone for the game that our crowd's going to be in it. This is going to be a great game for our defense. There's nothing that I despise is probably too strong to say, but what I really don't like is you're talking about the hype, right? The players come out of the tunnel, and BYU does a great job with the game day atmosphere. They got all like the steam coming out of the tunnel, right? They have all the flags.
It's awesome.
We have the fire. They're shooting fireworks off every game this year, and everybody's running through the band. Everybody's excited, and then you get out there and you take the ball first, and the stadium runs silent.
It feels like every BYU video I have saved from past years is before the game. It's always the hype before the game that I'm all pumped about, right? And so, I think getting out and just, I love the idea of just deferring. I mean, just getting your defense hot, especially because, usually averages play out where the defense gets to stop, first place. So I think that just will create momentum. And I honestly think on offense, let's take a couple of shots deep. I think running the ball over and over again, it's kind of doing like little screen dumps. It's kind of tough to like build momentum right off the bat, but you throw one deep and you connect on one, you can run it 5 more times after that and the energy is still high. So I think it's just getting a big play right off the bat, like versus Texas Tech when LJ had that 55-yard run. I think that just set the tone for the next 3 possessions, regardless of the outcome. So I think it's just getting started early, even if it doesn't really end up in a score, but seeing, some effort, a deep play, I think it resonates with people more than just, these short little plays over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about the offense ad nauseum. They actually didn't play horrible against West Virginia. We didn't put points up, which was disappointing, but they were able to move the ball. One interesting stat I saw was BYU had 20 first downs last week against West Virginia. 17 of those came on first and second down. And so they were moving the ball in chunks, right? Which is something that we hadn't seen a lot this season. A lot of times we're 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, and that's one of the reasons we're one of the worst teams in the country on 3rd down. But a couple of things I'm looking for besides the offensive line to play well in this game, we got to get Isaac Rex back in the game plan.
Yes.
He had 2 catches last week. The week before, he had 2 catches. Again, this is a guy that was freshman All-American, projected to be eventually a top NFL prospect.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just been non-existent this year. So we have to get him involved. And like you said, I do think we need to stretch the field. If there's one thing after rewatching the West Virginia game that I thought Jake could fix or work on, was that he's really good in the pocket. He was really good on the quick and the fast throws. He loves those slants, but the deep ball wasn't really there. And to be honest, we didn't take a lot of shots. And for BYU to be successful on offense, I think you have to open up the field vertically that way and throw some shots over the top.
That's what I loved about Jaron, when he was here. And honestly, obviously Zach Wilson too. But like they were not afraid to throw the ball. I mean, we were throwing it and just saying, Puka, go grab it kind of thing. And I think Chase Roberts is that guy too. Like he is so big and athletic. Like let's just throw it up and make him like go get it.
And Puka's a freak athlete and he would go get most of those balls. But Chase is also 6'4", and a big NFL type dude. Frame. Like we need to be making those throws. It's as simple as, you call the streak to Chase and you have Jake look off the safety, right? If they're in single high, you look 100%. Off the safety and then you just chuck it.
And let make him go get it.
Let him make a play.
Usually the quarterback isn't going to get it unless it's a terribly thrown ball. But that was what's so great about Jaron and Zach is they were able to, not throw a bad ball, not necessarily a great ball, but make the receiver make a play. And I think too much of the time BYU is being complacent and not taking a risk. It's like, oh, I don't want to throw just in case it's a bad throw. It's like the receiver's got to go make a play too. Like it's just as much his job as the quarterbacks. And so let's go ahead and make him get a play. And I think we would see a lot of success that way.
Yeah, I would love to see a little more trust put in guys like Chase and, throw it down the field. And early on in the season, it seemed like we were throwing some of those back shoulder fades to Isaac Rex as well. And he would make some plays. The last couple weeks, I have not seen Isaac Rex on the outside of a formation. He's almost always been attached or in the slot. And so I would love to see, put him against a corner, put him against an Iowa State corner that's 5'8", 5'10", right? He's 6'6".
We've seen 2 one-handed catches.
Right. He can make the plays.
We've got receivers that can make plays, so let's roll it.
Absolutely. And yes, yeah. BYU needs to get the ball to Isaac Rex, and they need to open the field vertically. One more stat I wanted to bring in, the offensive woes this year. BYU's projecting less than 1,000 yards rushing. You want to give just a gander at how long it's been since we've had less than 1,000 yards in a year?
I mean, there are like majority players get to 1,000. Single players.
Like most top teams have 1,000-yard rusher. Like there's probably 30 or 40,000-yard rushers.
And then we're referring to 1,000-yard rusher, not 1,000-yard rushing team.
BYU's not going to get 1,000-yard rushing for their whole team
as a team
in 13 games potentially. They could go to a bowl and still miss this mark.
So when was the last time? It's got to be. It could not be post 2000.
No, it's been 91 years.
Oh.
No, 81 years. 1942. It was World War II. It was literally World War II.
Oh.
BYU played 7 games that year and didn't get to 1,000.
I was going to say, that's probably why they didn't get to 1,000. There was maybe a World War going on.
World War stopped them. That was the last time. And so BYU's rushing game has just been horrendous this year. Really, really bad.
That's a stat I honestly hope people are opening up their eyes about, because that's actually crazy.
Can I talk about the Iowa State mascot? You know the mascots.
Well, I know they are the Cyclones. As far as a mascot, what is it, a ram?
It's a cardinal.
It's a cardinal.
Cy the Cardinal, not Cy the Cyclone. I think it'd be pretty dope to have like a walking tornado guy.
Yeah, I was actually born in Iowa. My dad went to University of Iowa, so they're the Hawkeyes. So we have a Hawkeye, but again, my loyalty has kind of gone that way, and I'm not familiar with
why would
the
Iowa State go with why would they go with a cardinal mascot if Iowa's already a bird? Why copy the bird? And there's cardinals everywhere. I don't know. Cy the Cardinal is all I know is
the only pictures I have from Iowa, this is when I was born, are of tornadoes. I mean, I don't think we don't even have family film of me. It's all tornadoes.
It's just the tornadoes. Well, the story goes that back in the late 1890s, there was a lot of cyclones going on. That's what they used to call tornadoes, apparently. And
okay, well, that get
some beat right.
I was going to say, what is when I think cyclone, I think of a superhero.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, I don't really know what a cyclone is. So that makes more sense.
It's what they used to call a tornado.
But the choose a bird is weird.
Yeah, the bird is kind of odd. A writer from the Chicago Tribune. Iowa State had gone and played Northwestern, and he said Northwestern might as well have tried to play football with an Iowa Cyclone as with the Iowa team I met yesterday. So apparently that's where the nickname came from. They've been the Cyclones ever since. I looked it up just for fun. There has not been a tornado in in Provo ever. The closest one, 1965, was up Provo Canyon near Heber. So
I mean, we never hear tornadoes. All we hear about is the big one, the earthquake.
The earthquake. It's coming at some point.
So I mean, if we were to open up a university next, maybe we change it to like the
Quakes,
the Temblers, something like that.
That'd be cool. Iowa State 4-0 against BYU all time. We played them 4 times between 1968 and 1974. So chance to get a first one ever.
We haven't played them in what, 30 years?
Since 1974.
So 40 years then?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's been a long time.
Year my mom was born.
Let's talk about bowls for a second. There's 3 weeks to go in the season. BYU is not bowl eligible, as we've talked about. There's 81 total slots to fill for bowl games. And most likely projections are showing that 5 to 7. There's going to be a couple 5 and 7 teams to go to bowl. Usually we say, okay, you have to win 6 games to get to a bowl. Because there's not going to be enough teams to fill all those slots. There's going to be a couple 5 and 7 teams to go. Interestingly enough, James Madison University and Jacksonville State have just moved from the FCS level to the FBS level. Mm-hmm. They're not technically eligible for a bowl game. However, if there aren't enough slots to fill with 6-win teams, then they will go to a bowl. And so part of me was like, okay, if there's going to be a 5 and 7 team goal, let's take BYU, right? We can at least get those extra practices in the player development. But more than likely, one of those 2 programs that just made the jump is going to fill a bowl slot. So projections, there's a couple writers that have BYU projected a no bowl. They said they're going to lose out. And then we have one in the guaranteed rate bowl against Nebraska, which we've talked about, which would be fun. And then down in Texas, the Armed Forces Bowl against the University of Texas at San Antonio, the Roadrunners. So anyway, we'll see how it goes the rest of the way. But yeah, I think that the chance for BYU is this weekend to beat the Cyclones and get bowl eligible.
Cool. So, Steve, I think we want to talk basketball, but right before we get basketball, we're going to throw something out there. If anybody tunes into the Jazz podcast, we do something called Conjo's Card. We're going to do something like that for the Cougars podcast. We're going to throw it in with a nice little Steve Slate.
Very nice alliteration.
That's kind of nice. So we're going to go, a couple stats here, right? So obviously for those just tuning in, we're going to give a few over-unders, and Steve's going to give us predictions. You can follow along during the game, see how he does. We'll hold him accountable. So first one this is what I'm going to do, right? So first off the bat, we're going to do the game end, which is what we had found. And this says 11:40 p.m. Over or under?
Kickoff scheduled for 8:15. We get the slide every single week. So it's going to be an 8:20, potentially an 8:25 kickoff. The games go 3 hours and a bit. 11:40. It's not going to go to overtime. I'm going to go under.
Under. So before 11:40.
Puts me home before 1 a.m.
I like that. This is another one. Jake Resclaff, over or under 1.5 passing touchdowns.
I liked Jake against West Virginia. I really thought he was the bright spot for me in the game. He played well. He had a good completion percentage. He was getting the ball out quick, which is something that Keaton had struggled with this year. 1.5 touchdowns at home against one of the better defenses. We haven't talked about Iowa State's defense. They're one of the better defenses in the country. I'm going to give him 1 touchdown. I'll go under. But maybe a dark horse rushing touchdown from Jake. But passing, I'm going under.
Yeah, so passing specifically 1.5. Under.
I'm going under.
Perfect. Alrighty. Now we're going to do a Cosmo stunt height.
I love the Cosmo stunt.
6 feet.
So Cosmo does a stunt every game between the third and fourth quarter. No, maybe it's before that. Third and fourth quarter is the fire dancers, right? And they bring everybody out. I don't remember where they do the stunt. 4 feet is the over under. He's done a lot of like jumps. He's jumped through a flaming ring. Did you see the one where he had the 2 tables stacked up beside him? He was in push-up position?
Well, then he was pushing himself up into the other one.
He was launching and grabbing. He did it like 4 times. That was above 4 feet. It's got to go over 4 feet. He's going to do something in the air. I'm saying above 4 feet.
I'm saying over. 6 feet though.
Was that the over? The mark was 6?
I'm throwing 6.
Oh, you're going 6 feet. I think at least. He's going to be in the air.
So over.
Over.
Perfect. Okay, here we go. Here's another one. Chase Roberts, 4.5 receptions. Got
to be over. We just talked about it. They got to get the ball in Chase's hands. He's one of the better players on the offense. Throw it up to him. Let him make a play. I think he could be good in the screen game as well. We saw against the West Virginia Mountaineers, we opened up with a lot of these flash routes where Jake was thrown to Keelan Marion. Like it seemed like the first 5 plays in a row. I'm not sure why Chase couldn't fill that role as well. And so I'm going over. Yeah, get the ball in his hands.
Over 4.5 Chase Roberts receptions. Now we're going to go last stat here.
Okay.
BYU total rushing yards, not specific to a player. BYU total rushing yards, 90.
90 rushing yards. We've eclipsed 100 rushing yards, I believe, just once, maybe twice this year.
Which is why it's at 90.
This is at home, which gives us an advantage. A lot of the rushing game is about the snap count. A lot of the rushing game is about timing, right? The offensive line getting off the ball before the defensive line can react.
And I think Resclaff helps the stat.
He does help the stat.
He helps the stat.
And being at home without the crowd noise helps the timing of your offensive line. Resclaff does help the stat. 90 yards, it's got to be over. We've been close to that with Keaton, and Keaton doesn't rush the ball. With Jake getting a couple of these runs outside the pocket, over 90 yards rushing.
Perfect. Everybody, that's Steve's slate. So, we'll get that rolling on Saturday, see what everybody else thinks, and see if we can hold him accountable, see how well he does. But, Steve, let's talk basketball.
Let's talk hoops.
It's crazy, going from football to hoops like that, but it's right here. I mean, BYU played their first, exhibition game is what it's called.
We had an exhibition game last week. Monday night, we played our first official game.
Official preseason game.
Yeah, it's official.
And it went extremely well.
It was so fun to be there. I was there with my son. He's 7 years old, and it was his birthday day. I had to take Cole to the game.
Didn't he go to the BYU baseball game for his birthday last year, or was that your other son?
Well, I have 2 sons.
Yeah.
And we do this thing called birthday day where like Cole was born on the 6th. So every month on the 6th, he gets to do some activity with me or with mom or with both of us.
Oh, really?
So it happened to be that BYU's opening game was on his birthday day on the 6th. And so I took him to the game with us. And it was a great environment.
I like that. I've never heard of that. I kind of like that.
It's a fun idea for you parents out there. It was a great environment. I was shocked with how many people there. I'm saying 10, 11,000 people there. It was pretty full. The Rock was like 2/3 full.
Oh, yeah.
The students were excited to be there. The Rock's whited out. It looked pretty good. Now, Houston Christian, they were called Houston Baptist last year. They changed their name to Houston Christian. They're projected to be like one of the worst teams in college basketball.
And that showed, but
we looked good. And this was the biggest difference to me. We think back to when the football team opened the season against Sam Houston State, right? Sam Houston State is probably the worst FBS program in the country.
It is.
And BYU barely scraped by, and they looked horrible.
It sets the wrong tone.
It sets the wrong tone. And so
we come out the gate, and I think Trevin Nell hit a 3 like first play of the game.
Trevin Nell had like 3 threes in the first couple minutes.
He like goes and gets a sweet 3 right off the bat. I'm like, okay, this is electric. Like that's the kind of momentum that you need right off the bat, no matter who you're playing.
And BYU is favored by 30 going into the game. You're like, oh, that's a big advantage. They at halftime, I have the score 56-18 at halftime.
Yes, that was insane.
56-18 at halftime, and it was such I just want to draw this contrast between Sam Houston State. Like, BYU looked lethargic. They looked energyless. Coming into the season, Coach A-Rod said he wanted to be mid-season form by the time they hit Sam Houston State. I sure hope that was a mid-season form.
No.
And even the things where they could control, like accuracy and minimizing mistakes, like BYU did not look good. The basketball team, I know they played a really, really bad team, but they look excellent. They were making open shots. The hustle was incredible. Richie Saunders, you got to love the guy. He's all over the place. Rebounds, let me pull up the rebound number here. I had some of these other stats. We had 59 rebounds to their 25.
I mean, people can talk all about, oh, well, we made more shots than them. Still, that's what I'm saying. Is like, big margin.
I know we played a bad team, but the heart and the desire was something I really love to see. Spencer Johnson had a career high 20 points, 7 assists. We shot more 3-pointers than we've ever shot in a game. We went 15 for 43, which is a good number.
Yeah.
We had 27 assists to 9 turnovers, a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, 28-2 on second chance points, and 21-1 on the offensive boards.
I mean, that's a great. We saw a different lineup too. I mean, Trey Stewart hasn't ever started.
He started at the 1, which is interesting. Dallin Hall came off the bench.
Yeah, which is honestly shock. I did not expect that. We saw Dallin start majority of the games last year. And so it makes you wonder, are they looking for that kind of potentially like to be permanent? Like, are we going to keep having Dallin come off the bench? Honestly, I don't know. Trey played a pretty good game for, just being, he's comfortable out there. And I think that's what showed. But it was crazy to see him in there versus Dallin.
I can't imagine a guy the caliber of Dallin Hall coming on the bench for the whole season. I know they sat him a couple games earlier. They said he was banged up or something. And another interesting thing is that in the exhibition games, they didn't run any offensive sets. They just went out there and played ball.
Yeah.
And I think I did see Coach Pope call a couple sets against Houston Christian this week, but the majority, I'm saying 80-ish% of the possessions was just go out there and run your motion offense and see what happens. And BYU sure look good. They're making open shots. They have good talent on the team. Now we'll see when it comes to Big 12 play.
Well, right? And we still don't even have Marcus Adams, right? He is still in the air on his eligibility.
We're still waiting on the NCAA
through NCAA.
Everything out.
So to see that our team play that well and still have a 4-star, in the wings that could be playing this season is pretty promising.
Yeah, and man, we have good talent. I don't know if we have the size to match up with a lot of these top tier teams,
which is tough.
Our best interior player, Foose, is 6'6", right? That's not going to match up with the Big 12 big.
I mean, and we bring up Big 12. I mean, we're talking Kansas. Hunter Dickinson,
number 1 team in the nation.
Hunter Dickinson from Michigan is now at Kansas,
right?
And he is the 2nd overall ranked player in the NCAA this year.
Nation. Yeah.
He is unbelievable. 7 foot, can shoot, can basically do whatever you want.
We just get Kansas once this year. I believe it's at their place.
It is at their place.
But I mean, and look at the teams we play. Houston, top 5 team. We have Texas, a top 15
Baylor's
team.
always been
Always at the top. It'll be cool to see BYU had a player that went to Baylor.
Caleb Lohner.
Thank you for remembering. Caleb Lohner will be back. I believe. Yeah, they come back.
Yeah.
He'll be back in Provo. So that'll be kind of a fun callback as well. So we'll see how we match up with a lot of the size and athleticism of these teams. But if we shoot the ball the way that we did on Monday night, you could hang with anybody when you make that many threes.
Oh, absolutely. So I think that's going to be a key to this season is shooting the rock. We have guys, Trevin Nell has not played in a very, very long time.
He was out a lot of he looked incredible.
Yeah. Like
at one point, I think he was 4 for 6 from 3.
Well, I mean, growing up in this area too, Trevin Nell was known at Woods Cross for literally being the most insane shooter on the planet. And then was committed to Cal and then came to BYU and honestly he's just dealt with injuries. So we haven't really seen pure Trevin Nell shooting yet.
And he doesn't have to be open. I mean, he had some open looks on Monday night, but he took a lot of shots.
He is literally Klay Thompson. He will not dribble the ball. He does not dribble the ball.
He doesn't dribble the ball. That's true.
He's a spot up. He's a pure spot up shooter. And so I think another reason why Pope's trying these out, like these rotations out, is guys that can give him the ball like that. Like Trey was the one that assisted him on almost every 3, just because he's so comfortable at just putting the ball down and kicking it out with his athleticism. And I think we're going to see a lot of that. I mean, Waterman can shoot the ball.
Waterman had a decent night.
Yeah, he can shoot the ball. I mean, basically everyone can shoot the ball besides our very, very big guys. And so I think that's going to be a big, moving point in the season of how we can shoot the ball. And usually when I watch college basketball, there's not a lot of threes made. And so I'm interested to see how that pans out. Yeah,
if we can combine the high clip of 3 points made with the hustle that I saw on Monday, I think we're gonna catch some teams off guard. And Ken Palm has a top 50 team. The Big 12 coaches project us to be the worst team in the Big 12, which I think is what BYU fans were expecting going this year. And then Ken Palm comes out, puts us at top 50. We watch the game on Monday and we get some hope. And, hopefully we don't become victims of our own expectations. But I'm excited about the basketball team this year.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting some sweet recruits too. So I think it's heading in a direction that people weren't expecting. So
huge game Friday though.
Huge game Friday.
San Diego State coming in 17th ranked team in the nation. A lot of athletes.
I mean, went to the national championship last year.
Very high quality team going to be in Provo. It's going to be sold out. It's going to be wild.
It's awesome. So, this has been the STLK in the UTA Cougars podcast. Conjo and Steve. All right, I'll catch you Monday.